It's 4 o'clock in the swamp. It's 1 p.m. in Clay Elum, Washington. When President Trump said the majority of the press was the enemy of the people, he wasn't kidding. It is shocking the lengths the biased press will go to keep Democrats in power and enabling their policies to harm you and your family. The Paul Pelosi story provides proof positive that the polls that say the majority of Americans' view of the biased press as being a threat to our republic, well, that is reflecting reality. The good news is, as the country is poised to reject the Democrats in what is shaping up to be a historic election, we, the people, are also poised to reject the left-wing press. Without fear or favor, the Chris Salcedo Show starts right now. Good afternoon and welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show here on Newsmax. Since the Democrats have made America a miserable place to live over these last 2 years, there are very few accomplishments, if any, the press can trumpet. So the best they can do is pretend the Democrats haven't been in charge, implementing policies responsible for the collapsing economy, fuel shortages, baby formula shortages, skyrocketing inflation, and a lawless border. And speaking of lawlessness, the Democrats' pro-crime chickens are coming home to roost. And the best the press can do is to blame fictional right-wing violence while ignoring real left-wing violence. When you vote out Democrats, vote out the biased press too. That's your liberty-loving Latinos advice in today's preamble. The Paul Pelosi story dominated news coverage this weekend, but the biased press, in an effort to push narrative over news, misrepresented or out-and-out lied. In recent years, the biased press at ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBS, and others, they have all adopted this tradition of sacrificing facts to fit their anti-American left-wing narrative. They did it with the Hunter Biden laptop story, the Trayvon Martin incident. The BLM and Antifa riots were mostly peaceful fiction. The Bubba Wallace NASCAR hoax, Jussie Smollett, the media-generated lies about the Covington Catholic kids, the burying of the Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein stories. I could go on, but you get the point. This weekend, the press laughingly tried to pass off the alleged attack on Nancy Pelosi's hubby as the fault of President Trump and anyone who votes Republican. This naked attempt at passing off fiction as fact a week from an election is backfiring. More on that in a minute. Here's what we know as of today. Paul Pelosi was attacked in his home by a man police identify as David DePape. The attack happened after 2 o'clock in the morning. Police were responding to a wellness check, not a home invasion. Details get sketchy from there, but from page 6 of the just-released police report, DePape stated that they went downstairs to the front door. The police arrived and knocked on the door, and Pelosi ran over and opened it. Pelosi grabbed onto DePape's hammer, which was in DePape's hand. At this point in the interview, DePape repeated that DePape did not plan to surrender and that he would go through Pelosi, end quote. Now, there is reporting that is contradictory coming out of California as you and I are speaking right now. We'll wait until things get sorted out further. Our take on this hasn't changed much from Friday when I stated that the crime-ridden environment created by Democrat rule has engulfed one of their own again. I am 100% sure that whatever transpired at Paul and Nancy Pelosi's home at 2:27 in the morning, well, that a crime took place, perhaps several crimes. But the conduct of the press has been disgraceful. The media narrative that few are buying is that DePape, a Berkeley resident who is a nudist and a hemp jewelry maker, is somehow part of the MAGA crowd. Journalist Miranda Devine, the woman who outed the biased press cover-up of the Hunter Biden laptop, observed, quote, "The truth about Pelosi's suspect by a writer who bothered to use some shoe leather. DePape is a psychotic homeless addict with a politics that was, until recently, left-wing. Very radical activists," said a neighbor, "all about BLM and gay pride," end quote. Charlie Kirk noted, quote, "Why did Paul Pelosi's alleged attacker, a nudist Green Party activist, go off the grid for years and then start posting Q rants just a few weeks ago?" End quote. To further buttress that point, fair journalists are reporting that DePape's ex-girlfriend says he is not a MAGA member, he did not support the riot of January 6th, and he was never even a Republican. But she revealed he is a known nudist activist who is a left-wing progressive and is mentally ill. But vapidly and without proof, just like in the aforementioned Jussie Smollett and Nicholas Sandmann cases, the press ran with a narrative that they were hoping would harm Republicans and divert culpability from Democrats. As Thomas Lifson pointed out in an article in The American Thinker, the so-called journalist at the New York Times had a sudden attack of amnesia when reporting on alleged political violence from Pelosi's attacker. Lifson notes how these posers at the Times neglected to report on real and verifiable left-wing violence of the knife attack on Lee Zeldin, the attack on Rand Paul, and the attack by a gun on the GOP from a crazed Bernie Sanders supporter as Republicans practiced for a baseball game. I would add the violence we've all seen from left-wing thugs in BLM and Antifa and their agents on college campuses violently shutting down free speech. Then there was CBS News, the fake journalist Margaret Brennan. In an embarrassing display of journalistic malpractice and contortion, she tried to link a GOP congressman partaking in his Second Amendment rights on a firing range with a hashtag of Fire Pelosi.
I want to ask you about this when it comes to political violence. On your Twitter feed, you posted this video we're going to show just a few days ago where you're firing a gun and it says, "Enjoyed exercising my Second Amendment rights, hashtag Fire Pelosi." Why is there a gun in a political ad at all?
It wasn't an ad.
Hashtag
I was
or a tweet.
I was tweeting out something that I had just
Hashtag Fire
done.
Pelosi with a weapon.
Well, now
Wouldn't a pink slip be more fitting if it's about firing her?
Okay, that's what passes for journalism at CBS, a hysterical propagandist masquerading as a journalist, practically wetting herself over a member of Congress urging the firing of the current left-wing speaker and then stupidly trying to link that call to firearms. But this disgraceful fake journalist at CBS had nothing to say about Nancy Pelosi's actual violent rhetoric.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
When you're in the arena, you got to be ready to take a punch. You got to be ready to throw a punch.
Sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Nobody comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my moment. I would pay to see that. I've been waiting for this. Some of us who are attracted to the political arena, to government and public service, that we're all God's children. There's a spark of divinity in every person.
Yeah, the spark of divinity she was talking about was from MS-13 gang members. Then over at MSNBS, Jonathan Capehart, not a journalist, who recently sat down with Joe Biden because only committed leftists get access to Joe Biden these days, asked Biden's new brain if old Joe had reached out to the GOP to tamp down this dangerous atmosphere in America.
Listening to you makes me wonder, has the White House, has the president reached out to, say, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, in an effort to get everyone together and put out a bipartisan condemnation or statement about the political environment we're in and tamping down the rhetoric? A unified show of force against what we're facing right now.
As you know, you interviewed the president most recently, and he believes in reaching out to the other side and working together.
In other words, the answer is no. Joe Biden hasn't reached out to the GOP because Democrats don't win when we are the United States of America. They only win when we're divided.